Krista Ross, CEO of the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce, your host. Today, we're speaking to businesses who got their start at the University of New Brunswick. Tell us a bit about how this business got started.
It actually started out as a summer research project at the university. I was a student for Dr. Philippe Chibanti, and we were working on a project to design a prosthetic covering for prosthetic limbs. But because my background was in computer engineering, I was more interested in the electrical properties of these nanomaterials. By the end of the summer, we had this piece of rubber that could be used as a pressure sensor. And I thought that was really cool. When I went back to school that summer, I did TME courses. So that's technology management and entrepreneurship. And we entered some business plan competitions, and we ended up doing really well. And so we ended up entering more competitions until we eventually ended up at the MBIF breakthrough competition. At the time, thought I was taking a break from school and seeing where this would land and probably be back at school in a couple of years, but it's turned into the rest of my life.
So tell us about how the business has evolved. What products and services does SmartSkin have today?
The pressure sensors has morphed into a sensor drone. And so what we build are replicas of customers' containers that can travel down packaging lines. Our customers are in the beverage and food, as well as pharmaceutical industry. Our replica drones travel down these lines and then tell the customer exactly where they're damaging their product. It has a big impact on their business. What's unique about SmartSkin is that we have software that interprets that data and tells customers exactly what they need to do or how they can improve their line.
Are you able to tell me about who some of your clients are?
We don't like naming customers, but all of our customers are really large brands. 16 of the largest 20 pharmaceutical companies are our customers.
Tell me about the growth trajectory of your company. Obviously, you started with you. Yeah. So then what?
We've been growing pretty rapidly in the last few years. So we are at about 53 employees right now. We started the year off with, I think, about 30. We'll probably finish the year closer to 100. That's the plan.
And where are your employees located?
The majority of them are in Fredericton, New Brunswick. We have employees all over the world.
Is finding talent a challenge for you, or are people knocking at your door?
SmartSkin employs a lot of different skill sets. So we have electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, chemical engineers, software engineers, all different types of engineers. So it really depends. Software is more challenging than the others. But I think the reason why we have been doing all right is that we have a pretty unique value proposition. Like the problems we're solving are pretty unique in the world. The solutions that we're designing are being, they're world first.
You recently had a very successful investing round. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we just closed around $10 million. And at the time, we weren't really looking for raising money. We were like, our business isn't burning cash. We're doing quite well. It was an opportunity offered to us. We could bring on some really good investors, and it would help us accelerate our growth a little faster.
You're a scale-up company now. What's the next phase?
We're doing our best to keep up with the customer demand. I don't foresee that stopping anytime soon. So I think that we're going to be in this mindset for a while now.
Would you have clients here in Fredericton or in New Brunswick or Atlantic Canada, or are they more global?
We have a handful of customers in Canada, but most of our customers are in the US and in Europe and the rest of the world.
How do you get your message out? How do you make sure that those global businesses know about SmartSkin technologies from Fredericton, New Brunswick?
On the pharmaceutical side, we're talking about a few dozen companies. So we're really focusing on word of mouth, on direct relationships with customers. That's what works best for us.
What about competition? Who is your competition? You mentioned you were first to market, but do you have competition out there?
I think the challenge we have is that we have introduced this brand new product to the market. We've grabbed a lot of the land. I think our opportunity is to grab all of it. I'm sure that there are competitors out there. I'd say we have pretty strong defenses in the sense of customer relationships as well as intellectual property that makes it very difficult to try and do what we're doing.
How did COVID impact your business?
It completely disrupted it. 2019 was a record year for us. I think we did 3 or 4x the revenue of the year before. And then 2020 got off really well. And then in March, everything just went quiet. And we didn't know what was going to happen. Luckily, we had really good people around us who encouraged us to stand our ground and to wait it out. We benefited from having really good relationships with customers, so we found out that the impact to their businesses were actually quite positive. Obviously, pharmaceuticals have gotten really busy in the last year.
In every business, we measure success in a different way. How do you measure success with SmartSkin?
I think, traditionally sales, we've gotten some really large sales that we do celebrate. Recently we had a $3 million sale. That's a big deal for us. I think more importantly, our success is customer success.
Kumaran, tell me about organizations that have helped your business to grow along the way.
Initially, UNB was a very strong supporter for SmartSkin. We still rent space at UNB to do our chemistry and to make our materials. MBIF is, of course, one of our initial and one of our larger investors, as well as East Valley. They've been very, very supportive, not just as investors, but also surrounding us with really smart people.
So your business started in 2009. What would you say is the most difficult challenge that you faced as an entrepreneur since then?
Probably COVID. That was a huge disruption to our business. There's a lot of uncertainty, but again, because of our experience with pivoting and going to where the customer is or understanding what is happening with the customer, we were able to adapt in that environment as well.
Kumaran, what would you say is the biggest risk that your company is facing right now?
I think our biggest risk is that we aren't able to hire as many people, bring on as many people as we need to meet the demand in the market.
How do you feel about the economy here in New Brunswick? What do you see as the future in terms of opportunity?
Well, I think we have all the right parts here. Like, we have a really large talent pool. We have really exciting companies here. I think all the ingredients are here.
If you were going to give advice to somebody who was maybe 23 and starting a technology company of some sort, what advice would you give them?
To get out there and get started right away. Like, it's very easy to focus on making something that's perfect or making something that's as good as you can, but I think you need to focus on getting something that's good enough.
Tell me about awards or commendations or recognition that the business has received thus far.
Yeah, so the most meaningful ones are from the customer. So we've won 2 supplier awards from Coca-Cola. And that was in consecutive years for our innovation. We've won international awards at pharma trade shows.
Where do you see your company going?
I think we go deeper and further with our customers. So remember, there's a finite number of large companies that we can pursue. The success comes from going further and partnering with them. Eventually, SmartSkin is going to get to every plant in the world and every line in those plants. And that's a pretty exciting prospect. Yeah.
Welcome back to Business Insight Fredericton. I'm Krista Ross, CEO of the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce, your host. Today, we're talking to businesses that got their start at the University of New Brunswick. Next up is LifeTrack Safety Systems. I'm talking to co-founders Amy Andrews and David Itoafa.
So we started this business in 2018 in September. So me and 3 other engineering students joined the TME cohort. So that's for our capstone project for engineering. And we decided to solve a problem that affects the Atlantic provinces. So we decided to make basically a smart life jacket.
Who actually came up with the original idea?
So there were 3 electrical and 1 mechanical engineer. And me and my friend Bridget, who are both from Prince Edward Island, are the ones who came up with it because we have more of a connection to commercial fishing. And we know that many lives are lost each year. So we thought, how can we improve the safety in that industry? And life jackets and communication just seemed to be a good fit.
So what was it about your life jacket that made it different?
The main part being the communication system, so that if someone fell into the water, they automatically would have a distress signal sent out.
I want to hear more about the pivot. What are you doing now?
So we've moved to a mobile application that focuses on personal safety, so that we can crowdsource safety information and provide as much of that information to the general public.
Give me an example.
Right now we're focusing on university students, just since we're in a university town. And so one thing that happens is maybe a night out with friends. That can get very hectic if someone gets separated from the group. So we have features that allow them to request location information from that person so that they can find them. Other things would be reporting incidents that might happen.
Are you at a point where you would be interested in having investors, or are you ready for that yet?
We're almost at the point where we're looking for investment for the personal safety app, and we're still kind of trying to work the dilutive funding, so funding that doesn't take away equity from the co-founders. So that's like the next step for us.
Well, we've had a lot of resource help from ONB and Itoafa. We're not quite to the stage where they can fund us yet. UNB has given a lot of resources and money to invest in our company, which has been amazing. We've used loans as well, and then quite a few competitions throughout the years that we've won and kind of pooled the money and used it to invest into the business.
How hard is it to find talent in this environment and in this business?
It's definitely been a challenge. We've had some funding allocated for certain positions, but that we can't find the person to fit those requirements. Either they have to be a permanent resident in Canada or between the ages of 18 to 30. So it's definitely been challenging, but we've done a good job of just finding people across Canada and being able to find people remote as well.
Your app will be free for users except for the premium model. How do you generate revenue?
For us, one thing that we're looking at is a subscription model. So looking to give premium features to people that will pay, you pay $4.99 for Netflix or something else, you can pay it for premium safety features as well. And another thing we're looking to do is create custom safety solutions for businesses. So one organization we've met with and are looking to partner with is MCAF. So we're looking to help them with building a custom solution for bike safety, because they have a lot of bikes that they give to their members. So we've been meeting with them to see how can we find a solution for them.
Who would you say is your target audience for this app?
So we're looking at university students as the main focus for now. We're also looking at helping minorities with safety and also international students and international people coming to Canada.
There are trends in every sector. How do you plan to stay on top of trends in this safety and identification sector?
We're trying to be proactive and reactive. So we find a lot of people that download safety apps, they usually download them after something terrible happened. So our goal is to try to stay up to date with trends and what's going on and making sure that people can interact and just have a bit of safety added to their day.
Your business is just getting started, but we have had a year and a half or more of COVID, a pandemic. How did that impact the development of your business?
It was quite the impact. It stopped us from doing quite a few things. So it limited who we could talk to, who we could meet with. But as we progressed through the pandemic, we were able to use Zoom more frequently, like everyone's getting used to. So we were able to kind of catch up. But it really slowed down our prototype development, which was something we were really focusing on at that time, which was a little frustrating. We were able to navigate that a little bit.
In terms of going forward, how do you measure success in this business?
Having revenue, so profit is definitely one way to measure success. But for us being focusing on the accessibility, it's the number of users that we get for me personally, so that we know that people are using the app and really getting value from it. So the number of users is probably is my top priority.
I like to shoot for the moon, so I'll always be like, let's get 10,000 users, and then Amy will bring me back to reality. So it's good we balance each other out.
You mentioned that you've been students at UNB working with TME. What other organizations have helped you along the way thus far?
Well, I guess it's still part of TME and UNB, but we were part of the Summer Institute this summer, which was incredibly helpful. We also did iSTEM, which is through those same channels as well, which is the customer discovery program.
PEI Startup Zone is another one. We did an accelerator with them. Then VEN, also we were in their incubator, so they've been helping us from time to time with meetings.
And the continued support from the TME department as well.
You also mentioned Opportunities New Brunswick and Itoafa. Tell me about the support you've gotten there.
Right now, we are too early to get a lot of financial resources from them, but we met them through some of these accelerators that we've been in, and they've been incredibly helpful. So even though we might not fit their criteria just yet, they know that we're on the right path to to get there eventually.
What would you say is the biggest challenge that the business has faced so far?
Funding is always going to be a challenge for us. Luckily, we're able to make it. We somehow find money at each stage that we need, but it is stressful.
Just like establishing that company culture, like we've done a good job of it in the past, I think, month and a half of really just bringing down and figuring out who we want to be and figuring out what type of people will fit that.
Would you say there are issues that would be unique to the sector that you're working in?
Right now, we're trying to avoid stepping on any toes of like emergency responders or just other people who help in those scenarios, because there's lots of legal implications as well, but we don't want to get in the way or interfere with anything else that's already in place.
As you've been getting your business started, tell me, what is the best advice that you've been given?
The best advice I've been given is it doesn't matter what speed you're going, but what direction you're going in. Because some days we make a lot of progress and it's really exciting, and other days maybe it doesn't feel like as much, but it's really important work that's directing us on the right path.
Tell me, so far, what are you most proud of?
I think when we first had our first student come on board and be a part of us and what we're doing, because it was just like someone that we helped, like it was his first job, and just having him like be like, wow, this is like an actual business where he's doing work for us, and just having a student that their lives are now changed because they're a part of LifeTrack. That was something that was like, wow.
Welcome back to Business Insight Fredericton. I'm Krista Ross, CEO of the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce, your host. In today's episode, we're talking to businesses that got their start at the University of New Brunswick. Next up, we're talking to Grey Wolf Analytics. Who came up with the original idea?
It was both Jirendra, my co-founder, and I. And so Jirendra has a fascinating background at Nortel, working with telecom. And a lot of the things he saw with telecom, he was seeing similar trends with the cryptocurrency and blockchain industry. And so he contacted me, and we started that research project to see what the opportunity was, and it was a very big opportunity.
So the essence of the business is protecting companies that use or accept cryptocurrency as a means of payment?
Yeah, so cryptocurrency is a financial technology that doesn't require a third party. What that means is typically if you want to do like an e-transfer, you do it through CIBC or IBC, and you tell your bank, send this money to this person, and they do that. With crypto, there is no CIBC. It's just the protocol. Very much like how you have a protocol for sending text messages and you have a protocol for browsing the internet, this is now a protocol for making stuff like payments.
What is the regulatory space around the work that you're doing? Or are you creating it now? Is government ahead of you or behind you?
There is a lot of work being done from the regulatory space from government, and there's new announcements being made monthly, and they're doing a really good job of being conscious that we need to maintain security, we need to put protections in place, but this is a new technology and we can't just put the old ways on the new ways.
So what's the structure of the company? Do you have employees, or is it just yourself and Jirendra?
On top of Jirendra and I, we're hiring our 5th full-time employee now. And so there'll be 7 of us. And then we also have an advisory board and then your standard board of directors. And so on the advisory board, we have 3 people from across Canada in the risk mitigation and legal space and cybersecurity, which is really helpful.
Is funding a challenge in this business? What type of people do you look for that funding, or did you bootstrap?
Yeah, so Grey Wolf started out with bootstrapping, but you reach a point where you want to grow faster than you can bootstrap. And so, funding, it's, when it comes to like a CEO of a company, there's like 3 priorities you kind of have. Making sure you don't run out of money, making sure you hire the right people, and making sure you have the right vision. So funding isn't a trivial thing, because it's one of the big things you got to focus on as a CEO of a company. But the goal of the company is to create value, and if you create value, you should be able to attract funding.
So are you currently looking for investors? Are you lucrative enough to attract them? Yeah,
we're definitely lucrative enough. It's a big space, and we have a strong value proposition. And we actually are in the middle of closing our seed round. And so we have been successful in raising funding, and we're always looking for more funding as well to help grow.
Who's your target audience? Who are your customers?
So anybody who's interacting with crypto, and anyone who is, and whether that could be an individual consumer or that could be a company that is enabling people to interact with crypto or just using crypto themselves.
Would your clients then be here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, or would they be around the world?
There are some in Atlantic Canada, some pretty big ones. And so locally there are clients, but most of them are across the world.
Do you think about or worry about competition when you're sharing things on your social media in particular? Do you worry about proprietary information?
No, we don't. This is such a big space and the problems are so large that we encourage the competition. You know, it's not going to be a problem that's going to be solved by one player. It's going to take an army of really exciting and really smart and driven companies providing security in this space.
So you are at the leading edge of innovation. How do you stay ahead? How do you keep on the trends? How do you know what's happening and what's next?
You need to have the passion for it. So you need to be, you know, if you're forcing yourself, if it's a conscious thing to stay ahead, you're going to burn yourself out. It's got to be something that you just do day to day.
So with a company in this space and being in the startup and innovation, how do you measure success?
There's tons of typical ways you can measure success. It could be revenue, it could be traction, it could be followers. And we're just really focused on making sure that the people that we're providing solutions for and our clients are really happy with us.
Did COVID have an impact on this business?
I think COVID had an impact on every business. We were able to work remote and we didn't have like a brick and mortar area. So we didn't get hit in that way. But it is the mental impact of COVID, right? Like the working through all the uncertainty is something that everyone had to deal with. And so that definitely impacted Grey Wolf.
I feel like in your business, because you're dealing with global clients and global solutions to big problems, that perhaps remote and virtual kind of works for you.
There's benefits to remote. You can hire from anywhere, which is wonderful. Some people are more comfortable working at home and sometimes they're more productive. But there's also something magical that happens when you're all in the same office and you're all whiteboarding. And so I think there has to be some sort of balance.
Tell me about organizations that may have helped Grey Wolf Analytics get started.
Some really big notable ones that have helped are the TME Center at UMB has been incredible. And even like we got our roots at UMB, so I got to give a shout out to UMB as well. McGinnis Cooper, the law firm that we use, has also been incredible. And then organizations like the Chamber of Commerce in Fredericton, NRC, NBIF, they exist to help us.
So far, what is the biggest challenge that you faced with the business?
Crypto's very new, and it's not fully understood by everyone. And so dealing with the fact that sometimes you can't just explain, there has to be some legwork that needs to be done to introduce the problem that we're solving so that we can then explain the solution. And so that's been a bit of an issue, but that's not something that we typically encounter when we're talking to people who are really experiencing these problems. You know, the problems that we have aren't exactly unique to other set of problems, right? So it's how can you grow a company, how can you be efficient with your money, how can you create a really good culture that people feel excited to go to work in the morning with.
Looking at what's happening with your business right now, what is the biggest risk that you're currently facing?
The biggest risk is losing that belief and that energy and that passion that you have for yourself. Because it's going to be hard. It's not easy. And you really need to maintain that.
Matt, how do you feel about opportunities here in Atlantic Canada?
I think there is a massive opportunity for here in Atlantic Canada and here in New Brunswick for a mindset shift. For us to believe that we are the best that there is in the world in terms of providing solutions and being innovative.
Matt, what is the best advice that you've received as a startup entrepreneur?
The biggest advice I've given is that you have to have the confidence that you can do anything.
We're always looking for great companies with a unique story to feature on the show. If you have suggestions, please get in touch with us.